understand how to do these. Okay? How to put them into your calculator. If you have a calculator like this, it's pretty easy. But those of you using your iPhones, I'll need to borrow somebody's iPhone so I can show you how to do that. As you can see, there is a sign button. Of course, it doesn't want to focus at all. Was doing that last hour too. Sine, cosine, and tangent right there. Okay? We're going to focus on all three of those and the stuff above it here. We'll do the stuff above it here in a little while. But basically, you either have two types of calculator, guys. You have a scrolling calculator, which is what most of you have, or if I put 5 plus 3, it actually shows 5 plus 3. If someone will give me an iPhone that uses their iPhone, does anyone in here use their iPhone as a calculator?
Yeah, but you just flip it on the side and it shows.
Right, but I'm talking about the way it... Bring it here and I'll show you. Let me use it up here. Let me use your phone for a little bit, though.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. If you notice, when I do 5 plus 3 on hers, you see how it shows 5 plus 3 there? When I do this, when I go 5 plus 3, what happened?
It just has 5.
The 5 disappeared when you press plus, and when I press the 3, then I press equals. It's going to say 8, which we know that's what 5 plus 3 is. You press equals here, it's going to say 8, but it's going to tell you that it's 5 plus 3. This is a scrolling calculator. You put things in as you write them on these. On these, you don't necessarily do that. The way you put it in on this one will be different than the way you put on this one. So on this one, I put things in as I write them from left to right. So if I put sine of 32, and what's the first thing I write when I write this left to right?
Sine.
I write sine. So I'm going to press sine first. See how it comes up just like I wrote it down? And there's parentheses 32. Now, please close those parentheses. I know you can press enter and it won't matter, but you'll need to when you're doing other things or combining it. And that's what you get as an answer. And we're going to round that to the nearest hundredth. Now, but look up here for iPhones in case you forget your calculator and you're stuck using an iPhone. Okay, how you do things here is different. Here, I'm first going to write what I'm finding the sine of. And what am I finding the sine of here? I always find the sine of an angle, don't I? I'm finding the sine of a what? I always find the sine of a 32-degree angle, correct? So I'm going to put 32 in first. You see how I'm going in opposite order? And then I'm going to press what? See how it came out to the same thing? And that can be confusing for some. But, you know, does that make sense how you do that? And you don't even have to press equals. It spit out the sign of that.
What if we're adding different functions to it, like adding more?
Like if I was wanting to divide that by something,
Yeah.
I would then press divided by 5 equals. And that's what the sine of 32 divided by 5 is. Okay? Here you go, you can come back and get it. I'll probably need to borrow it when we start solving. Or somebody's, one of you guys, because like I said, it's just different. So, quickly do all these. 0.53. You guys quick do all those. See what you get. And then we'll check them.
On our notes.
Yeah. Just do them on your own calculator, and so we can check, make sure everybody knows how to do that right, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Would you recommend this right now?
Yes. And the other point I want you to get is that sine of 32, in essence, is just a number, isn't it? It's just a really ugly number. So we're going to treat sine of 32 just like it was a number when it's in equations. When it's in an equation. Proper English there. What'd you guys get for cosine of 15?
22.
Should have gotten that.
Oh, I put sine, that's why.
0.97? Should have gotten 0.97. Cosine of 15, close parentheses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What'd you get for tangent of 43? 0.93. What'd you get for sine of 10? Correct. What'd you get for cosine of 14? What'd you get for tangent of 89? 57.28. Which is 57.3 if you round it to the 10th. So obviously we're putting it in correctly, huh? I say 57, I said to round to the nearest hundredth, so it'd be 57.28. On our assignment, they're gonna say round to the nearest tenth.
Mine,
It would be 2.9, right?
Yeah, it would be.
57.29.
Yeah.
What do we do to cosine of 15?
does anyone have a calculator like this? Mine doesn't work.
Cool.
It doesn't.
What does it look?
This little calculator.
That's right.
Okay, and then I'll put 10.
Okay. Guys, another thing right here. See this right here? I forgot to mention that there's a reason he got a weird answer here for cosine of 15. It's that RAD in the bottom. There are different ways to measure angles. You don't always have to measure them in degrees. Radians is another way. So what you did is you put a number in for degrees, but your calculator's set on radians. So what we have to do, see that DEG? Make sure that your calculator says DEG on it, or I think the iPhones don't say anything. If you press the RAD, it says RAD in the corner. But now that it says degrees, see how it changed? It changed to the right one.
Okay.
This
Thank you. Huh? Radians.
What's cost shows RAD when it's RAD?
I'll have to look at
I
that.
don't have a rolling calculator or an iPhone.
Yours will act, if yours will act just like an iPhone.
Okay.
Basically, if you put 5 plus 3 in, and
Yeah.
it doesn't, then you need to use it just like an iPhone.
Okay.
There's kind of two types of calculators. There's ones that scroll, and then there's ones that, flicker. Like, that's the one that I used in college. When I put 5 plus 3, when you press plus, it just kind of flashed to let you know you pressed a button. Okay, we good here? All right. Now, let's talk about solving different types of equations. Guys, there's going to be 3 types. And I'm telling you guys, this is super, super easy. It's just a little weird. Okay? You're going to have a type like this, where your x is one of the sides. Hey, you guys understand what I'm saying when I say sine, cosine, or tangent? I'm saying it could be any one of those 3. Okay, what I'm focusing on is what the value of these 3 is. It's a number. It's something they gave to you, right? And then your unknown, what you're solving for, is the what? Somebody? The x. Or you could have this type, we'll say this is type 2, where you have sine, cosine, or tangent. You still have a number for the angle, and then you have the number on top, and you have the x on bottom instead this time. Okay? These 2, we're going to solve by cross multiplying. Because we basically have a proportion. So what could I say? This is when my unknown is what? A side or an angle?
Side.
The sides are always on the right side here, or in the fraction, are they not? Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
So my x or my unknown, I shouldn't say x because I could have different variables, couldn't I? Doesn't always have to be an x. But when your unknown here is one of these, we're going to solve by cross multiplying. And you're going to solve it like a normal equation. Okay, and that's the type I'm going to focus on right now. So let's just start doing some examples from your homework. Let's jump ahead and talk about see, I'll pick, how about number 43?
So,
On number 43, first of all, it tells us what, we've got what? Here's our angle. It's giving us the what? Opposite and what? So what is that? Sine. So the sine of what? 69 is equal to, what is the opposite?
X
Over what?
18.
Everybody okay there?
Yes.
Once again, I am recording this. I will post this. I recorded the first hour too, and I'm doing different examples on this hour than I did first hour, so you have lots to look at, so you can get this done over the weekend. Now, if my unknown is over here, either on top or on bottom in the fraction, I'm going to cross multiply to solve. I have type 1 or type 2. What I have to do, though, to cross multiply is I want you guys to go over here and put over 1 so you make sure you cross multiply correctly. Because this is just a number, right? And you can put any number over what? And it be the same number. So what am I going to do? I need to cross multiply. Well, this becomes basically 18 times what? The sine of 69 is equal to, well, 1 times x is just what? It's already solved for x, isn't it? The only question is, I don't want you to leave your answer like this. What do you think I'm going to do next?
Find the sin of 69.
Quit saying that to annoy me. What do I want you to say?
Sine.
So I find the sine of 69. So I'm going to say sine of what? 69. And this is why I want you to close these parentheses.
9.3.
Times what? 18 equals 16.8. So x is approximately 16 point what? Now let's be honest, how hard was that?
That was pretty freaking
And everybody's always, you know, it was just different and weird, wasn't it?
easy. Yes.
But in essence, that's still just a number, isn't it? You're doing the same thing you would do if that was a 3 on top of there. Would everyone agree? It'd be 3 times 18 equals x times 1. That'd be a simple proportion to solve. We're just adding the familiarity of using the sine function and everything with your calculator. And since this isn't a trig class, we're not going to go into deep detail about what sine is, what cosine is, and just the general SOHCAHTOA and things like that. Now, that's not too terrible, is it?
No.
Is that supposed to be an equal sign, or is that like a...
That's approximately because I rounded. I like to write approximately. I don't care. That's just me. Bugs me if I don't write approximately when I know it's rounded and not exact. That's the math geek in me. Okay, how about 45? What have they given me here?
opposite and
Nope.
adjacent?
They gave me the adjacent and the what?
Hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse. So what is this?
Cosine.
Yep. Cosine of 40 is equal to what?
20 over x.
Okay, and I know I haven't talked about the third type, but do I have type 1 or 2 here where my unknown is a side?
Yes.
What am I doing on these? Cross multiplying and solving. What am I going to get? Cosine of 40 times what? X is equal to what? 20. See how this one's a little different? Where the x, when it's on top, the x ends up being beside the cosine, doesn't it? Or the sine or the tangent. This one's got one more step to it. What we have to remember still is that that is just a what? That's a number. Okay, and we have a number in front of the x. What do we usually do? Like if that was, instead of a cosine in front of it, if that was a 4, what would you guys do there? If that was 4x equals 20, tell me what you would do. You'd divide both sides by what? 4, wouldn't you? And you'd get x equal to 5. Does everybody understand what I'm getting at there when we write it down?
Yes.
So, in other words, if that was a 4, I would divide both sides by what's in front of the x. But what number's in front of the x now?
40.
No,
No, cosine.
cosine of 40. Because remember, when you put that in your calculator, it spits out an ugly number. As I always say, don't discriminate against those poor ugly numbers. So the concept doesn't change here. I'm going to divide both sides by what? Cosine of 40. What was in front of the x? What I'm multiplying by the x. Because isn't the same thing over the same thing divide into 1, just leaving what? X? Does everyone agree? So now the only thing left to do is put this into your calculator. So what I'm going to put is what 20 divided by cosine of what?
40.
Close my parentheses and press equals. 26.1, because they want you to round to the nearest tenth here. When it's all said and done, is that bad? So you're either going to have a type where it's already, you're going to cross multiply and it's already going to be solved. You just got to put it in the calculator, right? Or you're going to have a type where you have to add one more step and divide by cosine of a number, sine of a number, tangent of a number. So they're really not that bad at all, are they?
How do we do that with
Huh?
Because it's not really working.
You have to-
Well, okay, bring that. This is one you probably bring it up here. Let me show you guys with that.
Yeah, show me.
This one kind of gets messed up because you've got to remember where you're at. Okay? Like when you're doing on this one here, what do we have? You're going to go 40 divided by, right? Okay. And then, or no, was it 40?
No.
No, it was 20. I'm sorry.
Divided by
So it's
cosine
20
40.
divided by cosine of 40. Okay. So I'd go 20 divided by, and then I put 40 in, and I press cosine. What that's shooting out right now is what the cosine of 40 is. So that's not what 20 divided by cosine of 40. I have to then do one more thing and press what?
Equal.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
That's what's kind of tough is you've got to remember where you're at and what button you've pushed.
Come in.
And that's the same thing we got, wasn't it?
Yeah.
26.1?
Shall I look for them?
No. That can come in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Come in. Any questions there?
Just got a prankster.
All right.
Yo, Dad.
Let's go back to this, our third type. And then we'll just do a bunch of examples. Call this type 3. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. When the angle is the unknown, everything changes. So this is when you have sine, cosine, or tangent of x, your unknown, is equal to number over number. So they give you the two sides, right? What they don't give you is the what? The angle. When you have this type of problem, you solve it completely different. At first, you might think it's harder because it's different and weird, but it's actually the easiest ones to solve. Do you guys realize when I solve, remember what was I talking about earlier? 4x is equal to 20. How'd you guys solve this? Dividing by what? So you get what? 5. Do you guys know why you divide by 4?
Yeah, because you gotta get x away, 4 away from x.
Because it makes this 1. But, in essence, 4x is the same thing as saying 4 times what? X, right?
Yes.
What is the opposite
Divide.
of multiplication? Or another word for opposite is the inverse. So the inverse of multiplying by 4 is dividing by what?
4.
Okay? So, what we're going to use is use what's called the inverse trig functions. Okay? If you look at your calculator, as we noticed, when we put cosine of 40 or something like that, it just spit out what the cosine of 40 was, right? Does everyone agree? Well, there's got to be a way to go backwards. What if you had the cosine and you wanted to know what angle, right? Well, what you do is you use the buttons right above, which is inverse. Doesn't want to focus. You see those buttons right above the sign? The sign of -1? Or the print just above it. I guess it's not actually a button.
Oh, sine -1.
Yes, that is called the inverse sine function. Sine spits out what the sine is. When you press inverse sine, it spits out what angle that's the sine of. It does it backwards.
On the iPhone, if you press the second button.
It becomes, yeah, see, it becomes inverse sine -1, doesn't it? Okay, that's what we use when we solve the ones like starting on number 14. Okay? So, looking at number 14. This is type 3 because what? Third type because what's the unknown? The angle. What was this one? This is opposite over what? Hypotenuse. So this is the sine of x is equal to what? 12 over 23. Anytime that's your unknown, just a little light needs to pop up that this is different. I don't solve this by what? Cross multiplying and solving, do I? When the what? X is the angle. What you use is you use what's called the inverse sine function. I want to know, that's obviously the sine of this angle, right? I need to know what angle that would be the sine of. And this is what I want you all to write down next. And this is to help you understand why you put -1. What happened? That became into the parentheses, and what did that become? That's what you're basically going to put on your calculator, is the inverse sine of what? 12 divided by 23. And it'll spit it back out for you. So, just wait till we're done here. At least I'm done with this problem so you can hear this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press inverse sine. See how it came up just like that? What should be inside my parentheses? Tell me what to put in there. 12 divided by what? Now you probably should get something that looks like an angle here, shouldn't you? Like degrees. What do you get? 31.4 degrees. It's because you must be in radians. Or no, well, I need to do it on the iPhone for you. Okay? So we get 31.4 degrees. And put the degrees in there to kind of help you, remind you that that's a what? Angle. It's approximately 31.4 degrees. So on any time, all you've got to do, really all this type of problem is writing that down and you doing calculator work. Let me see that iPhone again.
Whenever you're trying to find the cosine.
Hold on, let's one thing at a time. Well, I'll get to you in just a second.
Because I had to restart it.
Oh, there's a question about yesterday.
It's right.
Oh, okay. Is the battery back on?
No, it's like it
Oh,
was
I don't
freezed
have
up.
it.
It's an iPhone.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much-
an iPhone. It's almost.
No, let me see yours then.
Can I,
Yeah, you can.
Oh, it's loaded.
can I use those?
Okay, never mind.
I gotta use it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what's kind of weird with this one. When you do this problem, you are going to have to do the division first because you need the number first. So we're finding the inverse sine of 12 over 23, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 12 divided by 23 and press equals. That's what 12 divided by 23 is, right? Then I press inverse, or second function, and inverse sine. See how it shoots it back out? So, like I said, when you have calculators like this, you have to do it backwards from how you write it almost.
Will you do that one more time? I
Sure.
missed that.
Okay, we're finding, you got, remember, we're doing this, right? So you have to do this backwards. You have to find that, you have to go 12 divided by 23, and see, that's what 12 divided by 23 is in decimal, and now you say, okay, I want the inverse sine.
Well, you put it was already in second function.
Oh, I messed it up, okay. Now, the other way you could do this, but no, it doesn't make any sense. It's to be doing the same thing, no. There's no need to even use the parentheses there. Does that make sense? How you do that? Just divide, get a decimal for the fraction first, and then press your inverse sign. So let's do another one. Let's do number 15. This one's what, guys?
Sine.
It's sine again, so let's go on to a different one.
18 is cosine.
We'll do 19 then.
He's 10.
Because I did 18 in the last hour, so now on this video I can have another one on here. This is tangent, isn't it? So tangent of x is equal to what? 19 over 42. My unknown is the what? Angle. So what do I need to use? What type of function? Inverse function, and I want this written down. Because this is basically what you're putting into your calculator, isn't it? You're kind of showing me you're putting it in there by writing that down. So now it's just a matter of putting it into the calculator. I've got inverse tangent of what? 19 divided by 42. 24.3. When it's all said and done, is that bad?
No. Should we put a degree sign on
Yes, I would like you to. I forgot to. Give me another problem to do. I don't care. Anyone on this worksheet?
Can we do like a type 2?
21? 21. Okay, 21. This is cosine of what?
53 over 60.
X is equal to, that's what? Adjacent hypotenuse is equal to what? 53 over what? 60?
Yes.
Where's my unknown? It's the what? Angle. So I'm using what? Not cross multiplying, I'm using what? Inverse function. So I need to write that. This is the inverse function of 53 over 60 is what's equal to x. Now it's just calculator work.
And we're doing
28.0
28.
degrees.
Okay, so do you want us to round the?
This one's what the directions ask you to round to the 10th.
Okay.
Pick me another one. You want to do one like this, or you want to do one of the other types?
I want to do like a type 2.
Okay. Let's look at 35. What do you got here? You've got opposite, so it's, and hypotenuse, so it's sine of what? 40 is equal to what? Tell me. Over.
X.
What do I do now? So I've got sine of 40, what? X is equal to what? 14. Everybody look up there, does that make sense how I got from there? Now, what do I do? Divide by what's in front of that x, which is what? Now it's a matter of putting it in the calculator. It would be 14 divided by sine of 40, close your parentheses, 21.8.
On the, now on the iPhone, do you like
You guys
put
press the
14
equals sign
divided?
right after you finish.
14 divided by 40, then press sine.
Okay,
Remember, on the iPhones, you always put in, you do it backwards of how you write it.
okay,
You don't, you write, since you would do 14 divided by 40, then press sine,
okay.
and then press equals. And it should be 21.8. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 14 divided by
Sine of 40.
3.
Now, if you got an Android phone, I think their stock calculator is a scrolling calculator. If you guys would like to have one of those, I don't see any way that there's not a scrolling calculator in the App Store on an iPhone. There's got to be one. I just don't own an iPhone, so I haven't messed with it much. There's got to be, you know, if you want to use a scrolling calculator because you like it better, you like to see what you have in front of you, I bet the money there's a free calculator. You might put free scientific calculator and see if there's one of them that will scroll. And you might be able to find one. Okay, in fact, if you want to, after we're done here, I'll let you guys borrow this calculator and I'll search the App Store on your phone if you want me to. I don't care.
Yeah, there is.
There is? Okay. Just might kind of spread the word on the name.
Well, that's cool.
You guys want to get started? What's it called? No. Well, if it's free, just download it, try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then just delete it.
You want to? You want to?
If it's 57,
I would search scientific calculator.
If it's 57.9, you just want to leave it 50, or 57.91, you just want to leave it at 57.9, right?
Any questions on that? You guys ready to get started and get this much of this finished up as you can?
Yeah.
This is the Wednesday. Oh,